Hello, auditory learners. Welcome to the auditory section of the notes. You are the lucky ones who get to experience my fantastic lecture skills. Well, what I'm going to do is, for this lecture, is I'm going to just read the notes I have for you guys. Since you guys learn by hearing, hopefully this helps you out. Feel free to give me criticism or anything like that, or where I fell short, or if I missed anything. Anyways, here we go. I'll just go through the notes. So basically, the first thing I'm going to talk about is, well, if you guys, I'm assuming that you read the article, but the article is about Bloom's constructivist theory, social constructivist theory. Now, normally we associate Bloom with like Bloom's taxonomy. This has nothing to do with Bloom's taxonomy. Well, I guess it does in a way, because constructivism has something to do with knowledge, but that's not the meat and potatoes of this section. The biggest part about this is the circle of knowledge. Basically, there's 4 stages. There's belonging, mastery, independence, and generosity. The first stage, belonging, is in the simplest sense, is when a student feels a connection and a sense of worth towards their jurisdiction or school, and to the teacher. Usually, it's typically, like, if you want to think in a metaphoric sense, I guess the student would think of the school as a second home, or like a friend that's not living in a way, like a structural friend. At least that's just how I interpreted things. The next stage, mastery. This is when a student masters a subject, they feel successful. So basically, what happens here is mastery, and I'll get into more detail actually about this section. Mastery is divided into a little bit more, like, there's a little bit more detail about this topic, but I'll get into more detail about that in a second. We got independence. Basically, this is a no-brainer. It's like having control over your own fate or destiny. I think the textbook actually, or the article actually, says having control over your own fate. So I'll just put that in quotation marks, just to be safe for plagiarism's sakes. And then there's generosity. Now this is relating back to the teachers. Teachers should also recognize student progression and use positive language to support them. So the focus should not be on the student's failure or setbacks. Now this is crucial, and I'll get more into detail about this when we start talking about self-efficacy or content. Self-efficacy. So next, we got self-efficacy. Basically, this is another word for self-efficacy. Would be the outlook on what the one has on their abilities, their influences, their choices, efforts, and motivation. There are 4 topics. So basically, like, in other words, it's just another way of saying that it's how you look at yourself, like what you value, what you consider success is, what you consider like is right and wrong, things like that. And here's where we get into the mastery section that I was talking about in a little bit more detail. Mastery experiences it's another way of how you look at success. Like, the textbook actually brings up a really good example. I won't quote it verbatim, but it says something like this. That a student who usually gets like B marks and they get an A, that would be considered like a success for them. Whereas like a student who, usually gets A marks and they end up getting a B or a B grade in a class, for example, that would be considered like a failure, because the average, like, normally they're used to getting A's. I mean, it kind of makes sense if you look at it in everyday life, and by no means am I trying to disagree with this article, or am I actually for it. Yeah. I'm just supposed to remain a total and absolute balanced person. I'm not supposed to give you my own opinion. So, next point. Social persuasion. This one links back to generosity, in my opinion. Basically, what it's saying is that positivity is needed in the classroom. It's necessary, but it can also be a very dangerous aspect, because if students are boosted like unnecessary, like if confidence is unnecessarily instilled on inside a student by a social persuasion. So if a teacher like says, "Oh, you're really good at math. You're like the best student in math," but the student gets his unit test back and gets a 51% or gets a C, then that student is going to feel worse. Like, and that confidence boost was actually a negative factor that ended up withholding the student. So it's really it's kind of like a fine line. You don't want to you want to be positive, but you don't want to be like super crazy positive, I guess. Like, you don't want to instill false confidence, basically. Next step, emotional and psychological state. Again, this is still under self-efficacy. In the emotional and psychological state, it's kind of like understanding we don't understand what happens outside the classroom. So, I mean, we may see what happens at recess, and we may see what happens at the school, but mostly we're in control of our classrooms, and that's it, right? Like, we may see Joey push Bill in the hallway and know why Joey's sad, but we do not know if Joey got abused at home, unless we see marks on his body or scars, but we don't know if his mom yelled at him, or perhaps his aunt died, or maybe his dog died, or heck, maybe he didn't get accepted on the volleyball team for the city league or something like that. There could be a variety of problems, not just in the household. It could be a city thing too. Maybe his dad didn't get a promotion and it's rubbing off on the family. All these great issues. And for us as teachers, it's really hard to understand why a student acts out the way that they do. And this can also affect their learning, right? So if they're not happy, if they're not content, if they're not emotionally and psychologically there, stable, I guess you could say, if they have something troubling them, then that can really affect their learning. And sometimes teachers don't understand this, and they rub off on their and they just rub off the issue like it's nothing, pretty much. So we got to be careful of that. So the next one is stereotype threat. This one is again under self-efficacy, and it can also influence a student quite a bit because, my favorite stereotype threat would be all Asians are good at math. I also like the blondes are dumb one because I'm blonde and, I don't think I'm really that dumb. So anyways, but this really puts a lot of pressure on a student, especially Asian students. I've noticed I have quite a few Asian friends personally, and I know that those that aren't good at math, they don't they not only do they get pressure from schools and stuff, they also get pressure from their family and to pursue a mathematical degree in sciences and stuff, which is really sad because if they're talented in English but they just don't want to do math, but then they're forced to do it because of a stereotype, then they're in it for the wrong reasons, right? And yeah. No, next one, we've got low self-efficacy. Now this is dangerous because what happens here is when a student's motivation is completely deteriorated, and they start to provide apathy and an escape for doing their work. So basically they use it as the exit sign. I guess that's the best way you could put it. I mean, they're running away from the problem. Their problem has conquered them so much that they literally don't care, and they use it as an excuse. So we've got, the first one is an allusion to incompetence. This one is basically where students believe that they're a failure, that they believe that they're terrible spellers, when in actuality they are great spellers. I mean, if you want to relate to a personal story here, I used to be a decent speller myself. Believe it or not. It's bad that I say that because that's just relating to illusion and incompetence. But basically, what ended up happening is I got into grade 6, I think it was, and I told myself I wasn't a good speller, and I went from one of the top spelling kids in my class to the lowest in grade 6, and then from there on I've just always told myself I'm a terrible speller, and now as an English major I have trouble spelling words like incompetence, which is odd, I know, but it's true, and I'm pursuing an English degree, but my weakest category is literally spelling, and it all like and because of it, and because of spelling, because of that step down that I made in grade 6, it's caught up to me now in post secondary. And let me tell you, when I wrote my first essay for university in first year, man, that professor had like a heart attack on my spelling. Like it was brutal. But yeah, then we've got the next theory here. It's expectancy theory. This is basically what a student expects from themselves. So I guess this can actually relate back to the mastery experiences. It's almost like interrelated, sort of like they flow together. Pretty much expectancy theory is what they believe their success is. So like what they expect out of themselves. So like if you expect an A and you don't get an A, you're gonna be sad. But if you expect an A but you get an A plus, you're gonna be happy, really happy, obviously. And then that also like affects motivation, and it wrecks students' efficacy as well. And then at the end, I kind of offer like a solution to how students can, or how teachers, how us as future educators can be aware of this, and how we can teach and sort of mold and defend students from low self-efficacy. Pretty much the best thing I think that came out of this article is the teaching the students about the problems. So like teaching them about stereotype threat, teaching them about like the intelligences, teaching them about, intelligence not being a fluid, inherited trait, that it comes from hard work, that it literally, it's inside everybody, but it's just how hard you want to work, and you have to find your learning style to achieve that. And I think it needs to be encouraged that in competition needs to be eliminated from schools. Now it's really weird that this is brought up, and I actually it's really hard. It's really kind of hard for me to sit here and take these classes where I know I'm getting curved. Like I know that this class is thrown on a curve, and it's just kind of frustrating because I'm reading stuff from this text that says, "Oh, don't curve classes because." That's a no-no because it throws students against each other. So I don't understand what the difference is between post-secondary and high school. I mean, yeah, I guess we're all here to get a degree and we're all here to make a difference. But there's still how do you expect us to work constructively together in a social constructivist environment if you're curving against us? The grades alone are going against us. And I mean, Bloom would probably argue with me and say that we should not curve classes, and some people will disagree with me, and I guess I said in this video that I wouldn't give my personal opinion, but here I am turning it into an essay. I guess that's the English in me. But anyways, yes, I hope this video helped. Again, if you have any questions, you could always just email me. Just look up Kloosterman. It's Kloosterman on my Bear Tracks or on your email. And I'm the only Kloosterman in the school, guaranteed. And just toss me an email and I'll try to help you out as much as I can. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope this helped.